a bit of a crazy claim, but especially the rejection side, because rejection is so often a staple of sales. But me and my special guest today are going to show you how that doesn't necessarily have to be true anymore, and how sales can be fun and enjoyable. And once again, I know it sounds crazy because I myself was extremely introverted most of my life, and I still tend to be quite introverted. But I also happened to get into sales very early on, and those two things don't mix, because so many of the trainings out there and the things that are teaching people how to sell just didn't jive with me. It didn't feel comfortable. This idea of having to get comfortable with rejection and go out and get the no's to get a yes, it never sat well with me. So I struggled. I struggled for years trying to figure out how I can help people. I believed in what I was selling, and I wanted to let people experience it so badly, but I just couldn't do it. Until finally, I happened to stumble across some of the things that our guest is going to teach you here today, and it changed everything for me. I became more comfortable. I started having a lot more fun, and maybe more importantly, my results transformed. I started getting people asking me to do business with them. They were asking me to sit down with them. They were asking me to sit down with their friends and family. And that's what we're going to talk to you about here today. And that's what we're going to show you how to do in your business. If you're selling anything that's high ticket, and frankly, even if you're selling low ticket products, you can use a lot of what we're going to share with you here today. But especially if you're selling something 500, 1,000, 5,000 plus, this is going to transform your business. If you're a coach, consultant, program creator, affiliate, you're going to learn something today that you're going to be able to immediately implement in your business. So I'm really excited to do this. So let's dive in. What we're going to really cover here today is we're going to talk about how you can make more sales and get more referrals, so you don't have to keep kind of starting from scratch every month. You don't have to keep that feeling of having to go get new prospects every month. Your business starts to carry on a sort of momentum. We're going to introduce you to a proven framework that, honestly, if you follow it, it's going to bring you better clients, clients that want to buy more from you and buy more often. Because we know the most expensive thing to do in any business is get new customers. That acquisition cost to get a new customer is so expensive to do. And what most entrepreneurs do is we focus all of our time continuing on getting new customers. Where if you implement what we're going to show you here today, it's not only going to help you get those new customers, but help you have those customers purchase more often. And again, refer more people to you. And we're going to show you how you can break through some of the mental barriers that really hold you back around sales and how they actually work. So our main goal really today is to show you how to separate yourself from 95% of the competition out there and not have to compete on price, no longer be a commodity. And we want to show you how you can establish true credibility in your market, true credibility, while staying true to yourself. No gimmicks, no hype. And at the end of this, and we're going to have just kind of a comfortable conversation with my guest here today, because he's a wealth of knowledge. And if you have any questions as we go throughout, feel free to pop them underneath, and we'll make sure to answer them as we go through. And at the end, I want to make sure that we take some time, and I'm going to get our guest Troy to really explain the mistake that most people make that's going to kill your results, even if you're trying to implement the things that we talk about here today. And we'll also let you know how you can get more. If you listen to this conversation and a bunch of light bulbs go off and you get really excited about implementing this in your business and you want to know how to go further with me and my guest Troy, we're going to tell you how you can do that at the end. But in the meantime, let's move into our discussion on how to get these loyal high-ticket customers. So I'm going to introduce you to my guest. Honestly, my guest, Troy Steine, is a wealth of information. I just happened to somehow meet him some years ago. Troy, I think came to one of my webinars, and we just instantly connected and have been friends ever since. And what I love most about Troy is this comfortable and easygoing and authentic approach. You're going to see right away, it's not about hype. It's not about tactics and trying to trick you into being excited. Troy is all about simple, practical, really advice and tips that you can implement right away that you're going to start seeing results. So Troy, thank you so much for being here with me and giving us your time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your past experience?
Thanks very much, Roger. What a wonderful introduction. Everybody, yes, it's a pleasure to be here. I've known Roger for quite some time now, and these type of conversations, these type of discussions where we're doing this information webinar, this really helpful webinar, I really don't do. And I can assure you that the main reason I'm doing this today is because of Roger. And he is someone who approaches what he does the very same way I do in my own business. And I come from a background of certainly within the world of marketing, but more so within the world of sales. And I've been selling for a very, very long time. And, when I say 3 decades, it scares a lot of people because I don't look that old, but, but I can assure you that when I started selling, I came into, it was the world of real estate, and I was very young at that point, and the technology we have today was not something that was at my fingertips. We didn't have that. And in many ways, it was, I look back on it now, and I really do believe it was a real benefit for me, because I truly learned to communicate and sell with people in 2 ways. Face to face, what I said to someone earlier this week, and they kind of looked at me funny. I said, belly to belly sales, but really standing and working with someone one-to-one, and using the phone. And I can tell you with certainty that the phone, speaking with people now, especially in today's landscape and in the world that we're in, the phone's never been more important than it is now. And that, when I say phone, I mean online meetings, whatever it may be, that one-to-one interaction where you're speaking with someone. And my background has been very, very extensive, again, within the world of sales, within the world of sales training, sales managing, sales consulting. And I learned many, many years ago, as I've said to Roger, that the core principles of being able to approach how you speak with potential clients, they become so logical and so easy to use if you do it in a very, as Roger said, a very, very simple way. So, and it's a pleasure to be here today to share whatever we can. I will say, going into it, Roger, I won't go on too long here, but this may be a simple approach. It may be a natural approach, but it's going to take some time and effort from everybody listening. And I can assure you, from my own experience and from the hundreds of people that I've worked with that have achieved success doing that if you spend that time listening to us today and then take some notes and really take to heart what you have to do, and you spend that focused time on this, it will pay dividends for you for years to come. So back to you, Roger.
Yeah, and let me just say to anyone watching this, definitely take notes, because Troy, as humble as he is, I mean, he is directly responsible for, between him and the teams he's trained, in hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. This stuff works regardless of what you're selling. These principles really help you make more sales. And so Troy, why don't you take a second and tell us, why is it that so many people are struggling with sales right now, and why is it that you're so excited to be sharing this with people now?
Yeah, really good question. And yes, the people that I've worked with, elaborate a bit on that. These are people that are entrepreneurial salespeople. That could be within, you name the industry, whether it is real estate, insurance, financial planners, people who are salespeople for prominent companies, a lot of online entrepreneurs, people who are so good at doing what it is they do. And that could be a consultant. That could be someone who's created their programs, their courses. It could be a copywriter. It could be whatever service you provide. I've worked with so many of them, and these same principles apply. And I think, to answer your question, why I'm so passionate about this and I have such a belief in it, and why I'm so happy to be sharing it with you, Roger, is because I am sick and tired of all of the outdated training and the approaches that people are supposed to do. Meaning, we've all heard the words, the one call closer or the hard close sales techniques, highly unusual persuasion approaches. And what that does to people, the people that I just explained in all those different professions, it doesn't allow them to be themselves. They feel they have to get into this world of trying to act a different way, trying to look a different way, trying to speak a different way, and really try to connect with someone in a different way. Whereas if they sat back and they looked at what we're going to share today, a really natural way of communicating with clients, the way that they would like to be communicated themselves, it changes everything. And when you entertain doing what we're going to share today, you will put that fear aside, as to what are you supposed to do and how are you supposed to act in sales. And there's just so much of it that you see out there that, for the people that I've worked with, this has, to quote what many of them said, it is something that they never knew was possible. And it's really, truly a breath of fresh air. And I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw in a group today someone asking about sales and asking about how they overcome objections. And so many people were talking about how to overcome the objection of if someone says they need to talk to their spouse. And a lot of the tips in there were just these very high pressure, really uncomfortable ways of doing things. And you know, you kind of mentioned where so many of the training is still teaching that, and use the word outdated. And I couldn't agree more. I think even 10, 15, 20 years ago, these methods worked. And frankly, they're still going to work some today. If you have the kind of personality where you could just get on the phone and you don't care, and you can piss people off left, right, and center, you're going to make some sales. But how long is that going to last? In today's world of social media, you turn off one person, who knows who that person can tell? Who knows how far that can spread?
You know, I had someone, and for everyone listening, this is how genuine Roger and I communicate. We speak naturally like this in our discussions with ourselves and with people, and every once in a while things will pop in your head, and we have got such a good synergy that I know he doesn't mind me popping in here. But
no, I don't. Someone
said to me this week, quite frankly, that they feel that when they get on the phone with someone, they have to transform into, we all know the role Mr. DiCaprio did in The Wolf of Wall Street, and they're going like, I got to do this and I got to act like this and just be this slick, scary machine. And that couldn't be further from the truth.
Well, I still see whenever someone asks, what's your favorite entrepreneurial movie, or what's a great sales movie? Glengarry Glen Ross is still the number one I see, right? Always be closing. And
that came up this week too. And
it's amazing to me. And I know people are feeling it. I know people are feeling like they need to move on from it. And what I love about you, Troy, and why I was so excited to have this conversation with you, is you truly give people permission to move on from it. right? So
Yeah.
often, and I know this was me when I was in it, doing it, going door to door and cold calling. And I mean, I got kicked out of malls for going to malls, trying to do surveys, just trying to get in front of people, trying to figure out how I can sell people. And it never felt right.
Yep.
But I didn't have an alternative. This is what I kept being told to do. And what I love about you and what we're doing right now is we're giving people an alternative. Here's what you can do. There is a different way. And not only is there a different way, you're going to get better results if you do it.
Yeah. And, something that I can tell everyone listening with certainty that, one focus, in the years of selling, and still to this day, in case anyone's wondering, is Troy actually doing this type of thing now? Or is he someone that, as so many people out there, they don't do it. They just, I did that 10 years ago.
And now I'm going to teach it.
Yeah, exactly. I am actively involved in sales calls every single day of the week. So I'm doing this, and I want people to know that everything that we're just going to share with them today is what I practice every single day. But there's one certainty, and if I can kind of start off with that, Roger, it's having the right mindset towards creating an exceptional customer experience. And that's going to carry you to really, and I'm not talking all this woo-woo stuff out there, but it's going to really carry you to a different level of thinking, a different level of success, professionally and personally, where you want to really, the other person you're speaking with, to give them such an incredible experience coming away from that conversation. And with everything we're going to talk about today, even that one thing, if someone really sat down and thought about that, it could significantly transform how they do their business. So,
well, let's actually talk about that for a moment, because
okay.
I know, so you call it the natural persuasion sales method.
Yeah.
And I think this is really a core tenet of it. And I feel like we could literally do a whole conversation on this one topic, because you said it, and I see again in these groups over and over, people are asking the wrong questions. They're asking, how can I close? How do I make the sale? How do I overcome objections? How do I pre-frame this call so that I overcome the objections before they even come up? And that leads you to be, one, uncomfortable, again, if you're at all kind of like me, where that idea of stressing about going on the call is uncomfortable. But that mindset of even approaching the call is, how can I close this? That's going to come across in our communication one way or the other, especially these days with things like video calls so prevalent. That energy will come across. Mm-hmm. But if first question we ask is, how can I be of service? How can I really provide value to this person I'm about to speak with? Everything changes.
And please remind me in case I forget, because everyone, as Roger knows, I get talking different things. So I want to make sure to cover a couple points that talk about how people prepare for each call. That's so important. But, when you're ready with that right attitude, that right demeanor, and the right framework to use, you're unhindered by outside issues going on in the world, even in your own life, you can really concentrate on the person that you're speaking with. And two things about that for everybody who's listening: don't confuse the business that you're in with the deliverables. Meaning, you have to realize you're not just in the business of the services or products that you're offering, which is the same as what all of your competitors are doing. You want to be in, and this is a writer downer, that you want to be in the expert, the trusted advisor business. You want to provide your clients, your past clients, your prospects with that ongoing, valuable, informative content, and that true advice as someone that they trust. And by doing that, you'll rise above the competition in your marketplace. I can assure you of that. And you will not be as you said, Roger, you're not going to be another commodity in your business. And the second thing I like to mention is when you go into calls, have that belief in yourself, that strong self-esteem, that sense of the worth that you're bringing to the market. Meaning, truly know and believe what you're capable of doing for your clients. And, when you go into every discussion with that, and I don't mean it in an egotistical way, I mean it in a way where you provide value, but you're there, as you said, you're there to serve. And that's how you go into the conversations. You'll be quite amazed by the results, because you'll have that increased self-confidence in how you're doing these calls. And when we go through this, this overview of this framework that people can use today, people will understand how it can really resonate and work for them. And I just wanted to share that. So back to you.
Well, I love it, actually. When you first mentioned that to me, be the trusted advisor, that was, in essence, in that one title, sums up everything that changed for me back in the day when I was starting. Honestly, and I see it still, a lot of people today, they're worried. If I teach this on the call, if I teach them everything up front, or I share everything with them, then why are they going to want to do business with me? And I had a little bit of that feeling too, way back in the beginning. But what I realized when I changed my approach to really becoming the trusted advisor, and I just started teaching, I just started giving value. And in fact, my first business, I was actually in financial services, and I was an early 20s-year-old broke kid with no success behind me, trying to get people to let me help them with their money. You can imagine it was a bit of a hard sell. And so imagine this, at this point now, I struggled for 4 years of doing this with barely making sales. 4 years of trying every single sales method, tactic, strategy out there to moderate success. I'd make some sales, but I never got that momentum. I switched to being a trusted advisor. I stopped trying to sell, and I literally just approached everything I did, every networking event I went to, everything I did with, how can I be the trusted advisor? And I just started teaching people about money. And I literally just started teaching them all the best things that I knew could really help them. And I would end it with just kind of saying, hey, if now when you go out in the world, if you hear something different than what I told you, maybe go research it farther, because I knew that what I was teaching them was right. And a funny thing happened. People literally, so I would teach and give this little bit of a presentation, not selling, not building up, none of those strategies, just honestly helping people, answering all of their questions, giving as much as I could. People started coming to me with their questions. And if you know the financial services industry, everybody has a brother, an uncle, a cousin, a friend in there doing it. And me, the inexperienced, broke, young kid, I was the one having people come to me, because all of a sudden I was the trusted person.
Yeah.
And when no one knew where to turn and who to trust, I became that person, and it changed everything.
Yep. And how true. Before we dive into some of the details of how to prepare and do this, just to reiterate that prospective clients, nobody but your prospects, they don't want to be sold. They want to be heard, and they want to be understood, and they want to be helped. And this is where the trusted advisor positioning comes in. And, another term that you and I have talked about, Roger, is that concierge type discussion. And I think back to, I always remember, I won't quote particular hotel chains in here, but my wife and I went to just a wonderful, wonderful place, and we had our own little concierge. And that just, the fact that no question, no challenge, big or small, was too big or too small. this individual helped us. And to this day, the same chain, by the way, I had the opportunity, the pleasure of going to for a 2-day behind the scenes training look into how they prepared for each day in their business, and with people staying with them. Very happy to talk about that someday, because it was an incredible experience. And this was probably 25 years ago. And I remember it as vividly as it was yesterday. That's how impactful it was to me, how these people did their business. So, but doing all of this and getting all this ready, as I said earlier, this is in the beginning, it's hard, focused work, setting this up. But once it's set up, and once you start doing it this way, once you commit to doing it this way, and obviously some of the value that you and I bring, Roger, going forward, will be able to help people in their own business actually do this, which is such an incredible thing for people to be able to not only jump into doing this type of new approach, but to have that backing, have someone there to help them along the way. But once you do it, everything changes, and you'll be able to guide your prospects and work with, this is really, truly important, you'll be able to work with prospects if they're the right fit for you and you feel that you can truly help them. There'll be no, oh, I got to take this client because I got to make money right now. It will be such a breath of fresh air, because the people that you work with, obviously you'll still have challenge clients. We all do from time to time, but overall, the people that come into your world you'll have a much stronger relationship with. So the question I ask people at this point, just from what we've talked about the last 20 minutes, is, does this feel a little bit different from everything else that they see or they read out there? And I think if people do really listen to what we're talking about, that they will understand that there's going to be no more difficult discussions. There's going to be no more pressuring someone to make a decision, and definitely no more taking on clients that you shouldn't be working with in the first place.
Well, and so let's actually use that to transition a little deeper, because I agree. I'm so excited about this concept, because if people really get it and really, really internalize this idea of being the trusted advisor, being that concierge. I mean, we've all had some sort of concierge experience, and it's the highlight of our vacation or the highlight of our trip. It's such a good feeling when you have someone who's there to answer your questions, have your back. And most of us never even realize that we could be that person in our clients and our prospects' lives. We get to be that person. And today, I don't care how different you do your business and how different your service or product is. There are 10 people in your potential client's inbox who are promising them the same things you are. So words aren't enough. What we need to do these days to really stand out, to really be different, is to be different. And if you take this approach and give value and help your customers, not worrying about not giving too much and not worrying about how to lead them down so they don't come up with these objections, not worrying about those things, but just worrying about how much value you can give to this person you're talking to, you're instantly different than 95% of those people in their inbox. And so even if your potential customer or client is researching multiple people who have promised them the same results or similar results to what you promised them, I guarantee you will probably be the only person that lets them feel like they were on the phone call with a trusted advisor or concierge versus a salesperson.
Yep.
Even in these whole, you see them all the time, these 30-minute free consultation calls and these hour consultation calls that coaches and people are giving. And they're just sales fests. And people are even getting sick of them because they know when they get on, they're going to be sold to. And so imagine now when people get on the phone with you, they're expecting to be sold. And if you go above and beyond and give value to them,
Yep.
You are the different one. You just won them over. So why don't we dive a little deeper into what that conversation looks like? So if I want to be a trusted advisor, you talk a lot about being comfortable and being yourself. What does that look like?
Well, I like to chat about, let's look at, and I'm assuming at this point, there's a lot that, Roger, you and I can talk with people about down the road here about how they get to this point. How do people find out about them? What's their lead generation activities? How do they set up a call? How do they pre-call? All of those things. Today, we're going to talk about, you're going to go into a discussion with someone. If that's okay. Is that okay, Roger? We start there?
Perfect.
Okay. And so going into this, let's talk about something which is never really brought up, never really explained out there, and people just never think about doing it. And that's really, truly preparing for your conversation. And not just talking about your own mindset, as I mentioned, how you go into the call and how you're going to serve, as you mentioned, Roger, but the three things, really. And these are things that, this is where some of that hard work comes in the beginning. And whatever it is you would do, whatever it is you're providing, first of all, do these two things. Let's start with the first two things. And it is, so if you look at, say you're providing a service to the marketplace, to first sit down, again, here comes that phrase, in focused time, undisturbed time. Turn off all the garbage. Like turn off CNN, turn off the hockey game, whatever it is you're watching. Yes, I watch hockey. Sorry, shouldn't have said that. But don't ask about my Vancouver Canucks because I will start crying. Anyway, first thing you want to do is look at what you provide. List out as detailed as you can all the features of what it is you provide. That could be 5 things, that could be 25 things. Really spend focused time thinking about what is it you do? And what is it you do for your clients? Next, beside that, write down all the ways it can benefit your clients. It's one thing to say that you'll do these things. It's the other thing to say how it's going to benefit them. And if you really spend time on that, especially the benefits, they're huge. And I, like you, Roger, I have a copywriting background. I know how important it is to talk about benefits when people are doing that, but really talk about what it's going to mean to whether you're working with them on their business, their own life, their lifestyle, whatever it may be, their relationship, whatever it is. List out all those benefits. So that's the first thing, features and benefits. Spend
and
time.
I hope people actually do this. If you're watching this right now, set aside, schedule some time that you're going to, even 15 minutes. It's amazing to me every time I work with someone and get them to do this, how hard it is to do it. Even though it's in their head to actually put it out on paper, it's harder than you think. And imagine if it's hard for you to do that in that spot where you're alone thinking. No wonder it causes some maybe anxiety and you're not getting the results you want. When you're live on a phone call and someone asks you, so what's this going to do for me? And you have to try to think of it off the top of your head.
Exactly.
Get it out, get it in, and then you don't need to worry about it again.
And it leads into the second thing that I would recommend everyone to spend that time on. This one will be more of a living document. With more calls you have, this will expand. And that is, think about all the questions that someone on a call with you could ask you about anything. What you provide, how it can help them, how do you actually work together, what are the next steps, how much does it cost, like you name it, list it out. And answer it. Put that in writing. And that will grow with more conversations you have. And people may look at me and go, well, that's kind of silly because I can just think about it when I'm on the call. What you just said, Roger, it's not that way because you can't think of everything. And I use this every single day still with what I do. And I can assure you the power that comes with having this in hand. What it's going to do is when you're in that conversation, it's going to allow you to truly focus on who you're speaking with. Instead of being all stressed out thinking, okay, I got to remember to say that, or I got to remember to ask this, or this is, oh, geez, how am I going to answer that? You have it there. And it will give you such a sense of focus and confidence as you go into the calls, doing those two things. And, I said it earlier, but if people come out of our discussion today with just doing that and they do it, it can't help but change how they have their calls.
Oh, change, especially if at all you were kind of like me, where again, I was introverted. My first times public speaking, I was shaking. My mouth was dry. I would forget things that I felt like I knew off like the back of my hand, and it would just be gone as soon as that nervousness hit. And so I started doing activities like this, where writing it down, getting clear on it, getting it out. And what it did was it took away all of that worry. And like you said, it allowed me to change my focus from worrying about, am I going to remember to say a certain thing, or am I going to forget a certain thing? And it just let me focus on, again, the people I was talking to.
Yep.
And that comfort came through just by getting it out of my head, being clear, where I was now comfortable that there's nothing you can ask me that's going to throw me off. And heck, if someone does ask you something that throws you off, add it to the document. It won't do it again. Exactly. It makes all the difference.
Yeah. And, as you said in the beginning of our discussion, we approach all these things, you and I, how we speak with people about this, that a lot of this is a very simple step-by-step process. And it's been complicated and confused and destroyed out there in the marketplace by people who are trying to make a buck convincing people to do something or approach something the way they're not. And so as you go into your calls, a couple of other things about that is, and I don't know how deep you want to dive today, Roger, into the step-by-step kind of framework as going through the whole thing or an overview, but as you go into your calls, before you even have your call, having these things done, I always recommend have your hands free. If you're talking to someone on the phone, don't hold up your phone, have hands free. So you'll be amazed quite often when you're speaking using hand gestures, it allows you to be yourself. And have those details at hand when you go into a discussion. Features, benefits, the overall framework that you and I help people with, having that at hand as well is very, very helpful. Questions and answers. And then one other thing which is really important is have a piece of paper and a pen and take notes. Mm-hmm. And it may sound common sense, but you only have that call once. And some of the things that you'll note when you go into the discussions that they will share with you, the way they share with you, is going to allow you to come up with better solutions for them. It's going to allow you to continue to provide value to them. That we'll talk about later. But really take notes when you're on the call.
And one of the things, you talk a lot about being ourselves and having a conversation on a call. And one of my favorite things that you talk about is detaching yourself from the outcome of a call. And I think if we can really
beat me to it. You beat me to that surprise.
It's my favorite thing you talk about, because I think everything that we've talked about up to this point is really about letting go, being comfortable, being yourself, and having a genuine conversation with someone. And I think this is where we really start butting heads with all of the training that people have had. But how do I get them to this? And how do I mention this? And how do I build up this? So why don't you talk a little bit about that, detaching from the outcome
Yeah.
and how we should have
Yeah.
that conversation instead.
Yeah. I say that in jest, everyone, about Roger talking about that first, but when he and I first kind of talked about that important fact, we both connected equally the same way on it because of its importance. And when you're able to concentrate on speaking with someone about how you can help them or not, they may not be a right fit, but you're having this discussion. You speak for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, and you can go through that entire conversation and, again, using the words, detach yourself from how that conversation should end. No one knows how a conversation should end because you haven't had it yet. And trying to force a decision by someone, is a big no-no because they will never become a client. If they do, they certainly won't be a long-term client. I can assure you of that. And you will be able to do what you do best in these conversations by not worrying that, okay, at the end of this call, boy, I gotta ask them for their credit card or do something. Otherwise, this has been a total failure. And a lot of people may either roll their eyes or pass out or hang up here in our webinar when I say, I don't believe, and I mean this completely, with rare exception, do I expect or want anyone to be taking someone's money or expecting to get a sale on one discussion. Especially if you're selling something where you're creating a relationship and it's a higher level investment. That, no, you want to continue to nurture that relationship, and then you'll have a client that will be more sure to go ahead with you and will stay with you for some time. And just as a little side note, when you're speaking with people, this is all part of our framework, I know, Roger, but when you speak with people, stay away from those words cost or price. I mean, it really truly is an investment that they're making with you, because if you are offering something that's of true value to them, and I would expect no one listening to a webinar that's put on by Roger would not be in a case where they're not providing something of value. These are probably very sincere business people. They're making an investment to work with you. And, in terms of that investment, one other really important thing that we advise people to do as they, embrace this framework for discussions is pre-framing that call in the very, very beginning. And when you go into a discussion with someone, this was proven again so in such an eloquent fashion this week in someone I was speaking with about a particular service. And we began our call and advising them that, this is how our conversation will go today. We're going to be chatting together about me discovering a little bit more about who you are and what you're doing and what you're looking to achieve. I'll be asking you some questions, and you're welcome to ask me anything that you wish, and we'll get a really good understanding of what each of us, what we do and who we are, and how we might be able to potentially work together going forward. And there may be some easy questions or maybe some difficult questions, but the purpose of this call is to give you as much value as I can. And then if I feel that, after us sharing this time together, that there is one or two solutions or options that you may want to consider for us to continue our discussions and maybe look at taking some next steps, I'll give you a couple of options when we get to that point, and then we'll see what goes from there. And by presenting that in the beginning of your discussion, it takes the pressure off their shoulders as well, because they're not waiting for that hammer to drop saying, okay, when are they going to try and ask me for money? It just sets the tone. And I can't begin to tell you how many times people say to me, boy, this was a different discussion. This is so different. You weren't pushing for money, or you weren't asking for, as I say, a credit card or whatever. Or it was a conversation focused on them, of sincerity and respect. And what all of that does when you do it in the beginning, it allows you to have a genuine discussion. It allows you to be yourself.
So in that example you just gave us, do you mind if I ask, how did that call end and what happened with that guy?
That call happened on a Monday, became a client on a Thursday. And it involved doing some other things between now and then. And, but I firmly believe, not only was it a decision because he was receiving true value in return, but it was quite a different approach. And he made the point of saying, this is completely different from everything I've been exposed to or what I expected. And it just reinforces to everyone that if you really embrace going into a discussion where you pre-frame how it works, you go in and you go through that process of asking questions, discovering, listening, understanding, advising, really understanding where their struggles are, where their fears are, their challenges, and then sharing with them in a very authentic way who you are, how you got here, why you do what you do, and how you feel you can sincerely help them. It allows you to move into that stage of asking them, you present them with a couple of options, and then you ask them, is that something that you have any questions about, or if you'd like to chat a little bit further about? And you're not asking them for a credit card or anything. And then, we'll talk about this later, Roger, but when they get to a point and it could be a yes, my feelings on getting yes on initial calls. It could be a no, it could be a maybe. And that's fine, because you've detached yourself from the outcome of that discussion. And something about that detachment, here I go, I warned everyone, I'm going to ramble on, but think of it, what you do, anyone who's listening in their business, what you provide, your service, that what you do is a train on a track, and it's going down the track. And along that track, there are stops. And every once in a while, when a train makes a stop, some people get on, some people don't get on. And it really, timing is so important. But when you understand that you have a method in place, and Roger, your method for having people raise their hand to speak with people and create leads is so exceptional. That's another discussion for another day. But when people do that and they raise their hand, you always know that you will have that continued flow of interested parties. The key is how you work with them after that initial call.
And it's when you mention that detaching from the outcome, how freeing that is. I also want to make a mention to people. There's so much value to your business in that. Like I know when I first share these kind of ideas with people, and Troy, maybe you've come across the same thing. It's hard for people to get their head around, because it's like, well, no, but I need to sell. Maybe you're in your business at a point where maybe money's a little tight. Obviously with things going on in the world, a lot of people are tight right now. And that desperation, that need to make a sale starts to come in, and we tend to start wanting to close. Yep. But what you're talking about, by taking this approach, by doing all these things that you mentioned, so that you can get on the call prepared but comfortable, and then not with a set outcome in mind, but just being there to provide value. Even, and in your case, the person said yes. And just out of curiosity, how long was that call?
About 45 minutes.
So 45 minutes, leaves it at the end of it, and by a few days later, he calls back and becomes a client. And what's the general price range of that service?
That was just under $10,000.
So a 45-minute phone call, I'm sure a couple email follow-ups back and forth, and almost a $10,000 sale. Never hard closing, never uncomfortable. So yes, you will get sales doing this, but let's say you don't. Let's say that call ended on the Monday And in that person's situation, they just weren't ready to be a customer. I promise you that if you take this approach with the people you talk to, even though that person might not become a customer, they're going to refer people to you. If they know anybody that comes to them and has the problem that you solve, even if it's something somewhat related, they're going to send that person to you because they know that you're not going to make that person uncomfortable. You're not going to hard close them even if they're not right for it. They know that you're going to have a value conversation with that referral. You're
Yep.
going to build that relationship. And if you're a right fit, then you'll both happily move forward. And if not, then you'll help point that person in the right direction. And the number one thing that I always got people tell me in the past when they were complaining about their results was, I don't get it. What I do helps people. I love it. And they buy from me and they become a client, but no one's referring me. And they don't realize that this is why. Yes, some of those other sales tactics, you may get a sale. But if you made them uncomfortable in the process, they're not going to send their friends and family to you.
Oh, yeah. And, Roger, that brings up that there's probably people thinking now who are watching this now or in the future that, boy, how do I get referrals?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you touched significantly on it. But if anyone's wondering, I know, Roger, you have, I believe, you and I had a very detailed discussion about referrals very recently, which I think people could probably get a copy of or something if they reached out to you or.
Yep, they can actually, if anyone wants to respond to this, to the email, any email for this event, I can send that out as well. And we talked for about an hour specifically on referrals.
Yeah, that was a great discussion. How you earn referrals.
How you earn referrals.
Something else that I know we'll touch on briefly here is this other area that forces people to think they have to say clever things. They have to use phrases or they have to use other nonsense in terms of persuading people or get around it or do whatever, is that crazy word, objections. And again, I am not new at this. I've done this for a while. And when I first started doing it, I thought I had to have this specific phrase to say to this specific thing why they didn't want to buy. Yeah. And the amount of wasted opportunities that happened for me as a result of that thinking, I can't even think about how many they were. When people aren't ready to make a decision for you, or they don't make a decision for you, in my opinion, and there are ways to dive into this further with anyone who's interested, but they're just asking for more clarity. Mm-hmm. And genuine potential prospects, they may have questions in their mind. They're not objecting, saying, I don't want to work with you. And if you have the type of conversation that we're suggesting here, and you get prepared the way we've talked about and use a framework that we've discussed, it could be a case of one or two things in your discussion that you haven't fully explained, or there may be some questions that they just haven't asked yet. And it doesn't mean they don't want to work with you. But if you've had that type of discussion where you've created that synergy together, you have the right to ask at the end, are there other areas that aren't clear in terms of how I could potentially help you? Are there any other questions that maybe you didn't get a chance to ask earlier that you'd like to kind of go over? Be very honest, be very transparent with them, and share as much information as you can, because my experience, and if selling hundreds of millions of dollars through people I've worked with, myself and teams, has proven anything, who have all used this approach, getting clarity at the end of a discussion, that is how you should approach that crazy word, objections. And I would actually take objections and throw it in the garbage and just have that trusted advisor discussion. And again, so many people worry about, they said that I have to talk to my spouse about buying, or you know what, I got to see if I can get the money for this, or whatever. There's 100 of them. Doesn't mean they don't want to work with you. It just means that perhaps you haven't created that synergy that you maybe should have spent a little bit more time doing in your discussion. And just asking for clarity, and don't try and say anything clever, and don't try and, the things I've heard that people have been trying to say to overturn what someone has a concern about. What this approach does from the very beginning of the call is it creates a different environment. And I can't think of the last time when someone used one of those objections in a discussion with me, because we had a different way of speaking together.
Mm-hmm.
And in many cases, it was just put here for now, and we continued our discussion later. Or in many cases, either through their decision or my decision, it wasn't the right fit. And we parted in a very good way, because as you say, Roger, you want to create that atmosphere that really advising you've helped them, and you should be helping them on the call. And if they don't become a client, they may very well come back later, or they could send someone in your direction.
And I like the way you even said, where you put the conversation here, you might come back to it later. This has very much been my experience, where I find so many times when you're talking to someone, the objection that you're getting is really just them. I mean, they may have already made a decision before picking up the phone with you. They were not going to buy because they've been so often pressured into buying something in the past. Maybe they want to check a couple other options, no matter how excited. Maybe they're super excited, and in their mind, they're like, I'm going to do this, but they've made that decision. They don't want to. And instead of telling the salesperson, I'm just going to sit on it and think about it, and cue slew of overcoming objections, as you mentioned, half the time those objections aren't even the real objection. It's just them wanting that space, wanting that break. And in this approach, one, it's way more comfortable for me, letting them have that space and having them feel through the entire process that they're allowed that space. Very, very often it was get off a phone call, and within the next 30 minutes, an hour, I'm getting an email saying, oh, you know what? I thought about it. I'm on board. And my partner, Sarah, who you know, does the same thing. She just gets on a call with someone and she just gives and gives and gives. And then we'll let them know the options and let them go. And people always reach back out. And maybe of course, there are some cases where it's just not a right fit for that person, but they always leave with a good feeling. And they always want to either refer or do business. It makes a difference. And I know we're coming up on an hour here, but we've told people what they can do to really prepare for a call, that focused time, writing out all of the benefits and all the features of what they're doing, plus all the questions that might come up. I think that's hugely powerful. I really hope people didn't miss your tip on throwing out words like cost and price, because that also helps your mentality of going into a call, helping someone invest. They're going to invest their money and their time with you. And it's an investment because it'll be valuable for them. This is always about value. And if you do that approach and then have that genuine, comfortable conversation that we talked about, where you're just being that trusted advisor, and then at the end of it, just letting them know the options to go further and asking for any clarity, and if they need anything clarified, and sitting back and letting them decide where it's going to go next. That right there is going to transform someone's results when it comes to not only making sales, but being able to charge what you're worth, because you'll no longer be competing as a commodity with all of your competition. People are going to want to choose you, and you're going to have proven you're worth it through this conversation with the person.
And you will get more referrals.
You will get more referrals. Even those people that say no. This idea of getting no's, no until you get a yes. How exhausting does that sound? Why do I want to go through 9 no's to get the 10th yes, when every single conversation I'm never getting rejected because I don't have a set outcome for that conversation.
Exactly.
I'm never trying to close. I'm just giving value. Some of those people will choose to come and be a client. Some of those people won't. A lot of those people are going to refer.
Yeah.
And that, let me tell you, when you're getting referrals in your business, those people are more fun to work with. They're easier to work with because they already have a good idea of what it's like. And you don't need to spend all of your time trying to refill those prospects.
Yeah.
So I really, really hope people have been listening to what you've been sharing, Troy. It's been extremely valuable. But before we wrap up, I would love you to actually talk about what is the big mistake people make when they try to do this, and why do people struggle to get results?
Yeah.
The results that they can get.
You know, we talk about the mistake people made. There's actually two mistakes, and one is everything that you and I have talked about today, Roger. This mindset, this framework, how you go in, how you handle the call, how you end the calls, all of these things. And there's so much more that you and I can go step by step with people, so much more in each stage of this framework. But the first mistake is people don't have a framework to use.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they get exposed to something that may feel comfortable to them, they won't do it. Or they'll get exposed to something out there that, again, won't allow them to be themselves. And they may hop on thinking it's the best thing ever. And it's like going to a seminar where it lasts while you're at the seminar and then you leave and whatever. But not having a framework to use. This framework, as I hope, well, for those people here who have really listened, they can see that it can work for them. I can assure them that it will work for them because I've seen so many people transform using this and customizing it to their own business. But that's the big mistake. They don't have a real framework to use. And the second mistake is after your call is finished, which is really the high majority of your calls, right? They don't follow up. It is huge. I could talk for an hour about follow-up, you know I could, but having a follow-up system in place that you can use with each and every one of your prospects. Again, the same type of system that is set up for you and you can customize with each prospect, but having that in place that you can use, simple yet very, very effective. And there's a number of different things you can do in your follow-up in terms of how to do it, different ways to do it. But the fact that people don't follow up is literally costing them money. And
Yeah,
it's
and
so
I think a lot of people have zero plan for how they're going to do it, and even worse, put the onus on the person they were speaking to initiate the follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
And I know because so many people, and I think this comes from a habit of being uncomfortable on sales calls, because in the past, when you've been trying to close and trying to angle and it doesn't end in a sale on the call, you feel like you failed. And there's a little bit of an uncomfortable feeling to even follow up with the person because you don't want to feel like you're bugging them or nagging them or pressuring them. That's no longer a thing.
That's
if
right.
you do the trusted advisor method and follow the things that Troy taught you here in this entire natural persuasion sales method, it's no longer uncomfortable to follow up.
Yeah.
You can follow up with a simple question of, hey, just wondering if you've had any other questions or thought of anything else and needed anything else from me.
Yeah, and
it doesn't need to be polished.
No. And having it super polished, please don't do that. Be yourself in these follow-up efforts. But it comes back to the importance of taking notes in your discussions with people because you use those in your follow-up. And again, I know you and I have all details on a whole follow-up system we could take people through, but you look at the basically categorizing your your prospects. You look at the methods you can use in follow-up. And there's a whole bunch of different methods. It doesn't have to just be phone. It could be email, it could be video, it could be print, you name it. There's quite a range that you can do and some real powerful systems within each of those. And the timing of your follow-up is so important. And all of these things blend together. But if you have a system in place, oh, it's so powerful. And there's an old phrase, the money is in the follow-up. It's so true. But you will make more sales, have more long-term clients if you do your follow-up with that same approach, like you just said, that you use in your original sales discussion with them. And but yeah, that is the second big thing that people don't do, is they don't follow up. In addition
and
to
we put
not
so
having
much time and effort to get that person on the phone in the first place.
Yep.
To not follow up and not have a proper system to follow up and just a proper plan for it, you're leaving most of your money on the table. Because not only are you losing those sales and losing potential referrals, you're now spending money to go put new people in your funnel and get them on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having to restart the process all over again.
Yeah. And you know, as I think about talking about follow-up, you know, the things we've covered today, Roger, and I really hope people got value out of this, because if you look at those areas we talked about, that mindset, that self-preparation, you know, what is the state of the world of sales right now, and how to really create your own sales framework, that customer experience, follow-up systems, referral campaigns we touched on. There's so much here for people, that those people who are serious, that want to put in some time now for the long term for their business. And for people that, if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, and you want to grow your own team, just think of the power you would have having all this in place that you can immerse your team into. And it's there for people, and it will make a difference for people if they put the time into it.
Well, and I know we've given people enough to be able to start implementing this right away. So if you're watching this, set aside some of that focused time and do the exercises that Troy mentioned. And you're going to start seeing a difference if you just start changing your mindset. But for those of you who are watching and you're like, this is awesome, this is what I needed, you feel like I felt when I first heard these concepts, just that pressure off, that relief. To me, it was permission to be able to be myself and to do what I wanted to do, which was just help people. If it's resonating with you and you want to fast track it and you want to go in depth, Troy and I are actually putting together a 1-day intensive. And I mean intensive. It's going to be a full day where we're going to walk you through step by step how to use this, how to put it in, how to do the mindset, how to lead, how to prepare for your call. We're going to show you everything you need to do to actually get on the call and to have the call, the entire process of working through with someone, how to communicate. We're going to talk about the follow-up. I mean, Troy's got a 29-day follow-up system that's just scheduled point by point that you can take, implement in your business, and watch your sales and referrals blow up. And so in this day, we're going to make sure, and it's interactive. You're going to be able to ask questions.
And we'll also talk about creating referrals.
Absolutely. And how you could do it. And Troy, you had, and I'm going to send out that hour conversation we had about referrals, because it was just gold. But that's just scratching the surface. Honestly, this day we are going to go deep and we are going to work with you. We're keeping the numbers very small for this first one, because our goal is to have you come out of this and immediately be able to see an improvement in your sales and your results. So you're going to be able to ask questions about your business specifically. We're going to help you figure out how to tailor all of these systems for you and your needs and figure out how to implement it. We're even going to spend a lot of time going over how you can build more profitable offers and offerings. Maybe how you can expand your product offerings, maybe have some more evergreen products that reach mass people, as well as more intimate one-on-one products. We're going to cover it all. Troy, is there anything you want to say about that day and what we're going to help people go through?
It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of
And
fun.
I think for everyone listening, when Roger says we're going to dive deep on it, yes, all of those areas that we've talked about, this will truly be this day-long event together. You will come out of that with so much value and real life step-by-step action systems that you can use. And just think about it. Coming out of that, plus we'll have a number of things that you'll be getting as part of this that you can just customize for yourself. But just think about the fact that if you get an extra sale out of this, 2 sales, 3 sales, some of you will get a lot more than that, I can guarantee it. And it will significantly change your business for the long term. And it's very exciting for those who are able to come in. I know, Roger, you said it's going to be a limited group. And for those who are able to participate now, it will be quite an experience for them. And the reason why we're keeping it smaller is there will be that Q&A, and you'll be able to say you're a consultant or you're a business coach and you've got certain businesses you work with and certain whatever it may be. We're going to be interacting at the end of each of these areas that we're talking about and how it can work for you the best. And so you're not just investing in a day of training or a recording you can listen to. We're there with you. And to get that one-on-one feedback live is worth its weight in gold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And one thing that I'm excited about, because honestly, the reason Troy and I are doing this is, and keeping it to that small group, like you mentioned, is we want to make sure that if you join us, you get results. You are going to be our case studies. You're going to be our testimonials. So we are invested in making sure that you can take all of this and run with it, and that you see higher sales, that you're able to charge more for your products or services, that you're able to get ongoing referrals coming in. So one of the things we're also doing to follow up is after that one day, and like we said, it's going to be interactive throughout the day. You're going to have lots of opportunity to ask questions and to figure out how it's going to work in your business. We're going to let you go away and implement it. And then the next week, have you come back for another live Q&A and hot seat. And this is the thing that I'm most excited about, because this is where we're going to put each and every one of you are going to have your turn up in front of everyone, and we're going to work through your business, your approach, and how you can implement these things. So if in that past week there are any things that came up that are maybe holding you up or giving you a little bit of an issue, you get to come in and we're going to break through that with you. Whether it's on the mindset side and preparing, the sales side and interacting with people, the follow-up side of things, building your offer, how to position your offer, your price point, how you build excitement for what you do, how you give value, and how you can position yourself as the trusted advisor. All those things we're going to help you break through.
You know, I think back to the opportunities I've had in the past. I've been selective in doing it, but those where I've attended, where it's been similar to this, where you have a small, tight-knit group of people, and you have that opportunity to come back again and have people focus on you and your business. Oh, the value there is incredible. And it was just an incredible shift for me, myself, personally, being able to go through that in the past. And, you know, we'll get so much more involved in people and helping them and understanding what they do and why they do it. And there's just, you also never really know what other pieces of gold you're going to find that are going to help someone. You know, one little thing could come up that could just add a significant amount to their business. And that's the value of doing those Q&As. Well,
and I'll tell you, just people learning your follow-up system alone is going to add
a
ton of sales to anyone's business watching this. But it's another thing that I really am excited about doing is we've added another bonus on as well. and we'll do this after the hot seat, after the Q&A, the number one thing that I see holding people up from implementing a lot of this is maybe you're thinking this, but I don't have enough people to sell in the first place. I'm not getting people on the call. I'm still a little early on in my coaching business or in my consulting business, or I only just launched my program. And so you might feel like, well, I can't do this yet. Let me try to get some sales first and get some people, and then I'm going to do this. So what we decided to put together for you is a complete deep dive on getting traffic and getting leads, targeted, qualified leads, because this is where so many people fall down. You can have the greatest system once you get people on the phone and to follow up, but if you're not getting people, or you're getting in front of the wrong people, then a lot of your time and effort is going to be wasted. So we put together an entire separate training that, again, live, we're going to walk you through how you in your business, even if you're starting with nothing, even if you feel like you're nobody with no credibility, no influence, we're going to show you how you can get started, how you can get in front of the right people, how you can figure out where the right people are, and how you can get those people genuinely interested in you and your product and your service. So that's going to be a ton of fun. And the final bonus that we're going to offer you, because after these things that we do with you, after the 1-day intensive that we go through the natural persuasion sales method, that whole day, you're going to come out of there knowing exactly how to talk to people, what to do on the phone, how to make sales, how to get referrals, how to follow up, how to build your offer. You're going to know how to get traffic, how to get leads, how to fit it into your specific business. But there's still one thing that might hold you back. And this is the thing that most entrepreneurs, I'm willing to put myself out there and say almost no one focuses on. And that's your performance, your health as an entrepreneur, your energy, your concentration levels, your ability to perform when needed. And I'm not talking about, so now you can go hustle 24/7. I'm not about that life. But being at your peak performance is so important. With everything that Troy and I are going to show you, you're going to have everything you need to build a real profitable and successful business. And at that point, the only thing that's going to hold you back is your physical and mental limitations. So we've actually put together an entire bonus training where we're going to dive deep into the health side. We're going to show you how you can increase your energy. We're going to show you how you can increase your moods, increase your motivation, all naturally. And I'm not talking about these crazy expensive supplements you're going to have to buy in this wild, strict diet. None of that. We're going to show you simple things that you can implement immediately to see results, to feel more motivation, to feel more positive, to feel better mood, and to be able to show up for your customers and your clients better.
And you know what? As the time we're recording this, Roger, we've just come out of 2020. We know what a crazy time it's been in the world. And knowing what I do know about what you have in mind for that and how it's going to be presented, how timely is that for business owners, entrepreneurs, salespeople, etc., who have all this other stuff going on, and everything that we're going to be giving them is just so powerful. But having that as they go into this year is just, if it's anything as I expect it will be, it's going to be so impactful for them.
Well,
so
I
timely.
appreciate you saying that, because it's an important time to be as healthy as we can.
Yep.
And I feel like when we should be getting healthier and healthier, we're going the opposite way. We're stuck at home, we're stressed, we're overwhelmed, and it's just loading on us. And it's amazing how much that erodes our motivation. So many people are down on themselves, and they feel like, the number of people who tell me, well, they're lazy and they're just not motivated and they just don't get it. They just can't seem to do it, and they procrastinate. And they don't realize that there are some shifts and some simple things they can do that in 90% of those cases will get that motivation back, will get their energy back. You're not lazy. You're just not operating at your peak performance. So to me, that's a bonus that I'm excited to add in. So again, if anybody is interested in really figuring out how to take your sales to the next level, how to get those referrals, and how to really be comfortable and be yourself. I mean, you can already tell, I think, just from the way Troy and I do this, we're all about being comfortable, being authentic, and just giving value. And we're going to show you how you can do that in your business. I invite you to sign up below this video. You should see I've got a little box there with a general description of what it is, and you can grab your beta seat. This is going to be the first program we're running through. In the future, these won't be the live one-day intensives that they are, but the reason why we want to do it live is because we want to make sure that you get the results that we know you can get, because we are going to use you as our case study and as our testimonials. We are going to get you the success that you need in this so that we can then use it to help and show people in the future what our programs can do, because we know what they can do. It's worked in our lives, and we want to make it work for you. So fill out that form. You'll reserve your spot for the beta, but again, we'll set up a time to get on the phone and talk to you about it. No pressure, no sales. Just because you're reserving your seat, absolutely. If it's not a fit for you and your business, I hope you get the sense now that you're not held to anything. No pressure on our side. We just want to make sure that this is the right investment for you. This is what you need to be doing in your business and what's going to help you move forward. And if not, that's perfectly fine. We hope that you got value out of this here today, and that you can see some simple changes that you can make immediately to really help you get better results in your business. So on that, that's it from me. Troy, did you have any last final thoughts you want to share?
Just thank you. This has been great. And, you know, you and I talk so comfortably about all of this. But again, people who listen to this, even if you don't come into this opportunity to get a little bit more closer with Roger and I about building what it is you do, but I hope you do, because it will help you. But even if you don't, listen to this and take to heart what we talked about. There's so much gold in here that you can use. And if you do that, it will help your business. And it's been just a pleasure having this discussion. So thank you very much, everybody. So,
Troy, thank you again so much for your time and your wisdom. Honestly, I know people got a ton of value out of this. And thank you so much for joining us and watching. And even though this is a free training, I understand that you invested your time. And that's asking a lot of you right now. In today's world, our time and our focus is everything. So I really appreciate you spending your time and focus with us here. I really hope you got value out of this. I know that I did, even just having this discussion with you, Troy. So thanks again. And for anyone who signs up for the beta, I'm really excited for you to join us on this journey. I know we're going to have a blast together, and I'm really looking